Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Um, I want to talk about the value of creativity. I think a lot of people don't give themselves a creative outlet or spend like any time just daydreaming. People are way too focused on just getting the next thing done and just go, go, go. Sometimes there's a guilt that they're supposed to just function that way. Sometimes they might even feel guilty about what they're daydreaming about. And if it is the case that you're daydreaming about, or you desire something that is immoral in some way, I don't know what maybe it's something that would hurt someone else, but if you know that that's the case, there is a lot more to explore there. So don't just avoid it. That's not the solution, is to just not do it. Oh, well, I guess I'm gonna daydream about bad things, so I just won't daydream. You should dive into that. There's a lot to unpack there if you're daydreaming about things that would hurt other people. But if that is not the case, which I think for most people it isn't, um, you really don't need to worry about it. And either way, you shouldn't be judging yourself. There is absolutely nothing to be gained by judging yourself for something you want, you know, as long as it's authentic. People are way too afraid of authenticity, and the only alternative is deception, dishonesty. You don't want to embrace that. That's just going to create chaos, and it's going to separate you from who you really are. And even if there is something about yourself that you don't like, and even if it's something that may be harmful and maybe you shouldn't like it, you're not going to fix it or address the root of what caused you to end up that way by ignoring it. So definitely don't judge yourself either way. It's worth exploring, whatever you want to think about. But I think people don't give themselves a creative outlet because people don't know how important it is. So I want to talk about why it's important. It doesn't matter if you're painting, writing a song, writing a book, writing a movie. Um, it doesn't matter if you're just writing little poems. Writing is a great example. Drawing, painting, you could be directing videos. Whatever you're doing, if you're creating some form of art, even photography, just anything where you have created something that you're proud of, and it allows you to express your vision in some way, where you have all of these complex emotions inside of you. The thing about humans is that we have a lot of thoughts and feelings and emotions that are too complex for words, and they don't always make complete logical sense. You just sort of feel a certain way and you can't explain it. Um, I think a lot of people have trouble explaining love. They don't know how to explain what it feels like to be in love. That's why there's a lot of art that is based around that concept. And not just romantic, but I mean, there's art that's just depicting love for just between humanity, whether it be like parent child, friendship, romantic, doesn't matter. But it's people caring about each other and, and doing the right thing, not because they want a reward or they're afraid of punishment, but doing the right thing just because it's right and for no other reason than that. That is the kind of thing that makes people emotional when they see it. And if you channel that kind of energy into something you're creating, whether it be a photograph, a painting, a poem, just anything, people are going to feel more emotional than they expected to. And they might not even be able to explain it. But there's a great power in that, and it helps us understand. It helps us communicate. It is a language, art, and I almost think of the universe itself as just one giant artistic masterpiece. It's constantly changing, and excuse me, it's constantly changing and evolving, and morphing into something else. It's never the same, and that is incredible. This infinite space, it's amazing, and yet no one really takes the time to appreciate it and realize that art is everywhere. So for those of you who have jobs where you're not really channeling anything creative, you really need to make time for it, and it will help you to function. I also want to clarify, there are some jobs that you just need to quit, and even if it was meant to be at one point, it not everything, nothing is meant to be forever. I almost said not everything is, but literally nothing is meant to be forever. Just as I pointed out, in the universe, everything is constantly changing. Everything comes in cycles. That job may have been for you at one point, but you were not supposed to stay there for as long as you have. Trust your gut when it tells you it's time to leave, because sometimes you find yourself in a situation, whether it be a job, a relationship, um, anything that sort of gets you stuck, where you realize you feel trapped by this. It's not allowing you to move forward in any way. You've blocked up the flow of the universe, and you're just sort of stuck in gum almost. It's this very uncomfortable feeling. So, you know, ask yourself if it's time to go. Deep down, you'll know the answer. You'll know. But there are some things that, you should just manage it better, make time for something else. And there are some things that there is no managing it. You just need to get away from it. A lot of people have anxiety. A lot of people have all of these complex emotions that they try so hard to manage. They're like, oh, I gotta take pills. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. Um, and I've learned a lot of energy exercises to protect yourself from things that are gonna trigger you and make you feel overwhelmed. And even then, sometimes the best solution is to just not put yourself in a situation that's going to trigger your anxiety and cause you to feel completely overwhelmed by other people and their, complex and conflicting energies sometimes. So, we as human beings are kind of energy manipulators. There are people who can just walk into a room, um, and they can completely change the whole vibe of that room. Everyone might be having a fun party, and then one person comes in with a stick up their ass. You know what I mean? And everyone picks up on it. They make one comment, they say one thing. That is powerful. That's not something to take lightly. Um, and, there are some people who are really good at that, who are incredibly skilled at manipulating a situation. And that is someone that you don't want to learn how to combat, you just want to get away from. That's like asking, how can I live next to a toxic waste dump and stay clean? It's like, well, the answer is you're not going to be clean. It's that simple. How do I live in a house that smells like smoke and then not smell like smoke when I go out? You don't. You just don't. Um, it's that simple. People try so hard to make impossible situations work, and they refuse to accept the reality that their best option is to work on changing the circumstances. Sometimes you're stuck in those circumstances. Sometimes it's genuinely not up to you. And in those cases, it is a good opportunity to learn boundaries, but that's only to a certain extent. Eventually you have to just manipulate the circumstances yourself to get away from those people who are not healthy to be around. And the reason that I'm focusing in this video on art is because it's a great way to really envision things that you might have never thought of before and deal with some of your emotions. So let's say that you are thinking about something that may never happen in reality, um, but it's still something that means something to you. Write a little story about it, write a poem, just find a way to get it out, and you'll feel so much more accomplished. You'll feel not just accomplished, but like it's no, excuse me, I keep burping, like it's no longer floating around inside you. Um, so it's definitely worth doing, whatever it is for you. Some people say that they don't have an artistic bone in their body, and I think that that's not true. I think if you look, there is something. Don't limit yourself. Don't judge it. Don't tell yourself that it's not art. Um, I named some common examples of art, but if it's something else, that's okay too. You'll know when it's art when you look at the completed result and you say this is art to me. As long as you created something. So I'll give you another example. The comedian George Carlin, he was just a comedian, but if you actually listen to the way that he performed his stand-up routines, there was something very artistic about it, very deliberate. He turned it into an art form. And some comedians don't really do that. They just sort of, get up on stage and just talk, and it's just talking. I wouldn't call it art, but what he did was art. So that's a good way to discern the difference, what makes something art, and really know how many options you have, and that you don't have to just say, well, I don't have an artistic bone in my body, I can't do it. There's a lot of naysayers out there. If you are one of those people, get out of your own way. I don't know what else to tell you. Stop saying things like, oh, it's easier said than done, or, oh, that would be nice if I, all those other people who have all this nice stuff, but I don't have that, and woe is me. And just like these people who just live for throwing themselves pity parties. um, Obviously, no one wants to see themselves that way. No one wants to hear that about themselves. And yet, there are a frighteningly high number of people that do that. Um, so, if you are one of those people, again, don't judge yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. Just get out of your own way. That's all there is to it. A perfect example for a situation like this, let's say that um, someone is upsetting you, and we always have the instinct, right, to fight back. I almost made this the topic for today. I actually only picked the art one because I forgot about this other thought, but I guess I'm doing both. The instinct to fight back, that was going to be the whole video. So yeah, it's kind of funny that my brain circled back around to that just on its own. So we always want to argue when someone tries to tell us that we're in the wrong. Someone says we shouldn't have done that or whatever. The instinct is to say, no, you are the one upsetting me. You're the problem, not me. I could never have done anything wrong. And sometimes people think, oh, well, I did, but I'm still handling it right and I'm doing it right now. There's like always a fight. And I think that's because it can be really hard sometimes to put yourself in the other person's perspective and think, wow, you know what? I would hate to be them right now because of me. I am making their life really frustrating and uncomfortable right now, and I would much rather just tell them whatever would make them feel better. Just say, you know what? Um that actually was really rude of me. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. People rarely come to that conclusion. It's much easier to just combat when someone comes at you. Now, sure, no one really should be coming at you, but sometimes maybe, I don't know. I think this was the example I was thinking of. Let's say you're in retail and you're like counting change, and I worked in retail for a year, so I just came across a post last night where people were making fun of people for not being able to count. I think, yeah, that is unfortunate if there are people who don't know how to count. It's a little depressing, but you should still feel bad for them because their job is ass, first of all. And second of all, you don't know what's going on in their head or in their day that is causing anxiety or stress that could be preventing them from doing basic math. Um, it's 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 true that there are people who um, are just like, you know, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say stupid because to me, stupid implies that you are deliberately making bad decisions even though you know better. Although I don't know that ignorance is a better term. It's more just that you don't really understand what's going on in their head, what's really going on to cause the decisions that they're making, how much they really have in a day. And at a surface level, it may be comedically stupid. But if you really look inward and look into their situations, you may find that it's much more than that. So I would have sympathy for someone who was, making a mistake like that, and I would be patient with them. But if I were to make a comment and say like, "Oh, come on, hurry it up," or, what's wrong with you? It's taken so long. You can't even count, and I started attacking them, I would have to acknowledge that I was being hostile toward them. I was attacking them. They were trying to do their job. It may have been taking longer than it should have, but they were at least trying, you know? And I should not have treated them like they weren't human. However, in the moment when I would have said something like that, I wouldn't be thinking about all that. All I would be thinking about was my frustration and how ridiculous it is that they can't count. So if they were to do one of two things, I think the desired reaction would be that they say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Let me figure this out and I'll give you your change," and just be very apologetic and, you know, easygoing, you know. But what if they came back? What if they said, "Hey, you have no right to talk to me like that. You don't have to be rude." That might make you feel a little bit defensive and you might start fighting with them. But what if you took a moment to step back and say, "Hey, you know what? Maybe I was being rude. Maybe they're the one being defensive because I came at them first." That's a thing that a lot of people don't do, I think. People don't tend to reflect and ask themselves if someone's someone coming at them is not the initial attack. Maybe they were the one who um, started it, and then just apologize, de-escalate the situation, say, "You know what? You're right. I shouldn't have talked to you like that. I'm sorry. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're going through, and I have no place to talk to another person that disrespectfully. It's not my job." Um, I'm sure you have a perfectly understandable reason for not counting, and I don't want to treat you like that. No one deserves to be talked to like that. Think of how often we see people do anything but that, you know? So that was the example I think that I stumbled across that made me think about that. Um, just didn't really need to be a whole video, honestly. I covered this in just a couple minutes, but yeah, it happens all the time. We always want to fight. So, to circle back to art, it is important to have empathy for other people. It is important to reflect, and a great way to do that is to turn situations into art. If there are people that you are upset by, if you're judging them, try having sympathy for them and maybe give them something artistic. It is helpful to maybe like think of them in a sympathetic way. Maybe they're just experiencing all. If the issue is that they're not able to do like basic math, maybe there's a poverty problem, and you could write a story or make a painting that depicts poverty in a way that draws out a lot of emotion and makes people have more sympathy for people who just were born in kind of unfair situations. I think there are a lot of people too who think that being poor is a choice. If you make better decisions, you can be rich. Well, that's not always the case. Some people just do not have access to the same information. Some people don't have access to the same abilities. And I don't believe that everyone should have the exact same amount of money because everyone has different things to offer to the world. And everyone puts a different amount of energy into something. Sometimes it is a choice. Depends on how much you put in. But there is no getting around the fact that sometimes it is just as simple as the table is tilted against you and you did not have a fighting chance. You didn't have a fair shot. And I really wish that more people would acknowledge those aspects of it. So it's not so black and white. But that's another topic. In conclusion, it's helpful to make time for a creative outlet. You should never judge yourself, and you should never judge anyone else. Those are things that I've been talking about a lot the past couple videos on this channel. Excuse me again, I keep burping. Don't know why. I mean, nonstop. Like, what the hell? But, thank you for watching. Hopefully this made sense. And I just felt like doing it with a different background today. Probably not gonna do it again down here, but who knows. Have a great rest of your day or night. Leave a comment or a like or subscribe. I appreciate all of those. Every time I see that there's a new like, every time I see a comment or a new subscription, it makes me really happy. So know that it's appreciated. And if you have any questions too, don't hesitate to ask. And I think I said everything I wanted to say. I always hate ending these videos because I always feel like I'm forgetting something. But anyway, I post new videos every Monday and Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, and I do them as premieres like this so that there can be a live chat if you want to comment at a specific time of the video. So yeah, that's it. Have a great rest of your day or night. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time I upload. Or you'll see me. Yeah, thank you.